Welcome to World at Work TV. I'm Allison Avalos, and I'm joined by Tracy Kofsky of General Mills, and we're talking about the changing retirement environment. So Tracy, can you start off by talking about what you're seeing in the U.S. with regards to retirement programs and how things are evolving?
What I see in the United States is more focus on employee accountable retirement planning. So typically think about that as a 401k plan with a matching contribution, as opposed to in the past, a focus on a combination of having a 100% company-funded pension and then also some kind of incremental savings vehicle. There's more accountability on employees to specifically make sure they're contributing savings for retirement and that they're actively managing their investments in those accounts.
So communications with employees is always important, but what kind of pressure does this shift put on working with employees, helping them understand their programs and making decisions?
We at General Mills have been trying very hard for a very long time to reach out to employees and engage them to think about retirement before they're thinking about retirement, which means, what did somebody once tell me? If you start thinking about whether you have enough money for retirement when you hit age 50, the answer is no, in most cases. And so what we want to do is catch employees earlier, that they may not retire for many, many more years, but the smarter they are about contributing savings for the future and the smarter they are about investing early, will make sure that at whatever time in their life they want to retire or actually take time for anything else that they might want to do, they're going to be better prepared the sooner they start. And so we're trying to get people engaged using a multifaceted approach.
So it sounds like there's a shift in there in terms of where the responsibility lies and what some of those specific roles are. When you think about the total rewards professional, how is that changing with regards to retirement plans?
Well, I think it's interesting. There used to be an old adage, and maybe it's still a current adage for some people, that the number one thing we should do for employees is give them choice and have quality designs within which to choose. And then it's the employee should be responsibility for their own effectiveness in X, Y, or Z, one of those in this case being their savings. And what I think we're finding is there might be a little bit of old-fashioned help that we could still provide by making it easier for employees to do the right thing while also giving them appropriate choice. So for example, in retirement, many plans these days automatically enroll you when you start in a company at a certain savings level and then incrementally move you up to a higher level unless you opt out. So historically, you needed to opt in. So this idea of defaulting people into the appropriate behavior or practice to the extent that you can do it, but still giving them choice out, seems like it's being more effective in preparing people. Auto-enrolling's been around for a while, so that's not necessarily new. But one of the things that we're doing at General Mills that is on the newer end is automatically putting people into accounts that are target retirement date accounts. So basically you think about when the person might be retiring, around age 65, et cetera, which we all think we're not going to work to then, but believe me, we will. And you put them into a fund that will automatically mix the investments appropriate for the age. So more risk when you're young, less risk when you're old. A way to have that automatic remixing so that you're probably in a better spot when you retire. Because what we find is once employees put money in a fund, unfortunately, more often than not, there's inertia and they keep that money in a fund. And if they've made their first election decision when they were 30, if they never make any other decisions, come 50, they're going to wish they had, for example.
So what kind of tools or options are there for helping to engage participants along the way? You've talked about open enrollment, which, as you said, it gets the ball rolling.
Sure.
How do you keep them engaged and paying attention and making sure that they're doing what they need to do to prepare for their own retirement?
So there's a lot of different things you can do. So there are firms out there now that can take on the fiduciary liability of giving actual investment advice to employees. So we used to not be able to do that under kind of the liability of that. And so you can give investment advice and on varying levels. So there are statements that you can send out to employees that, based on their different demographics, you can say, do we think you're saving enough? Is what you're invested in seem appropriate given your profile and age? et cetera. So there are kind of things that you can push out to employees that give them an assessment and then offer them to come in to remix their investments or contribute more. There are also abilities to sign employees up with investment managers should they so choose. There are these target retirement date funds that I talked about. And there's a bunch of mobile and web-enabled modeling vehicles, et cetera. And so what's interesting to me is we've done all of that at General Mills. And we still do one really old-fashioned thing, which is from time to time we will hold in-person sessions with groups of employees. So we'll fly some people from the retirement team out to a plant. We'll hold a session at headquarters. We'll do a webinar for salespeople throughout the country. And despite all these other fancy-dancy tools and technology, when we go and have an expert from my retirement team or from a financial planning organization talk live to a group of individuals, when we leave, we find that they've been activated. So they'll go and use the tools at 2 to 3 times more than they did before us coming. I find it fascinating because we talk about needing to get on technology, we talk about web enabling everything, doing things paperless, which I think are all good. But there's still, in terms of planning for their financial fitness, it seems like for employees, at least at General Mills, that still having a human face come and kind of group you into a room and really make you sit down and talk about it, and kind of having a face-to-face still is kind of most effective in getting people to change their behavior or to get involved.
With what you've learned and seen at General Mills, what does the future look like in terms of retirement plans and programs?
There's been some research shown that if a company provides help, investment help, and that could be in the ways of these stop-late statements I talked about, these target retirement date funds, managed accounts. If somebody takes advantage of that help, on average, they get about a 3% per year higher return. Think about whatever your return is in your 401k, and think about if for every year you worked, you get 3% higher returns. That's a lot of money. And so I think you're going to see a lot more work on engagement, investing right, things like that, and probably less work on just get into the plan.
Thanks for your insights and for your predictions.
Thank you.
For World at Work, I'm Allison Avalos.